everybody, my name is Adam Kidd and I am the FX Kid, and what I want to do today is provide a little tutorial just for fun, and we're going to try to recreate a title sequence from a movie. This is actually one of my favorite title sequences. It's very simple. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Video editing, and this is from the trailer, so it's not exactly what we're looking for, but I think it serves the purpose.
Sylvester Stallone is back. As Rambo. First Blood, Part 2.
Ooh, I love that. And you know, as cheesy as the movie might have been perceived, even nowadays, I love it. I mean, I know right now we're in a phase where we're supposed to, you know, love everything Stallone does because he's popular again. Even when people are making jokes about Stallone, I'm always on his side. I love watching Stallone movies, so this is one of my favorites. When the movie opens up, it opens up with Colonel Troutman trying to recruit Rambo, who's in prison for what happened in the previous movie, First Blood, which if you get a chance to see that one, check it out. And anyway, it cuts immediately to this opening cut here, which is Rambo, and then the words First Blood Part 2, and there's flames moving in the background of the word Rambo. So for some people, that might be a very daunting task, try to figure out how to do that. Back in the day, what you would simply do is you would cut out your words Rambo onto a piece of telecine or black paper, and you would film through that, and anything that was black would be unexposed. Anything white would have the channel on it, and you would then proceed to film the fire. It's a layered process, and it's not difficult at all, but we can do it even quicker. And I'm not going to provide you with all the files you need for this one here because frankly you might want to have some fun with this, try something else. You can actually get any of the product that I used on this off the internet for free. I actually grabbed a campfire video off of YouTube, so the principle will remain the same. So for ours, rather than doing Rambo First Blood Part 2, I'm going to do my own custom one, but I want to make it so that if I want to, I can make it First Blood Part 2. So let's go into default. Actually, let's go ahead and make a new composition. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and make sure we are set overhead, which is our 7 on our numpad, and 5 just to go orthographic for now. I'm going to go ahead and delete my default cube, and I'm going to go ahead and add text. You can do this with technically anything. You can even do it with an object, like a mesh object, but I like the control that we have with text. So what the heck, let's make this one Rambo. Oh, and then tab. All right, and one of the great things about the text tools inside of Blender is you can treat it very much like any other program. You can control whether or not it's centered. So I'm going to do that under the horizontal alignment, center. And then to choose the font, I love Blender for this, and that is that I don't necessarily have to have the font installed in order to use it. So if I really want to, I can go into my C drive, Windows, fonts, and I can actually view all the fonts that I want to use. Or if I really, really want to, I can go into any folder that I have, and then go ahead and use the font I want. So the one I found that best suited the needs for Rambo is Ashen Bold Plain, and you can actually do a quick little Google search for that one there, and just type the word free after it, and you can download it for free. So there we go, and I think that, yeah, that looks just about right. What I might do is drop in a reference image though, and to do that, let's go in my desktop, my Rambo project, and There we go. So let's scale things up a little bit here, just so that way we're matching, get our best resolution possible. All right, and what I'm seeing right away here is, although it's nice, it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be, but let's see what we can do about adjusting the height, because that I think we can do better on. Let's bring that down to the bottom, and then adjust the scale. All right, and although, again, it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be, because if you're to make it something else, let's see, Atom, all right, it's not going to line up, but it doesn't matter, okay, FX, kid, all right, see, it's even going to overlap a little bit there, but it meets the demand, but for the sake of Rambo, let's do Rambo. All right, and let's go ahead and add another piece of text. All right, and we will make that one center as well. And let's make it First Blood Part 2. Ooh. All right, and we'll scale that down. And most operating systems come with a Stencil Font, so let's go ahead and open that one up. You really don't have to look too far for this one. Windows.
Carrie-Anna Hoy, would you come to the main office, please? Carrie-Anna to the main office.
Fonts. And for me, it's just going to be called Stencil. I'm using Windows 10. Stencil. All right, and you can actually view them if you'd like. Lamino PQRS Stencil. There we go. So that ought to do the trick. Let's see here. Let's scale a little bit more. All right, and I'm noticing that we have to stretch this font out too, which tells me that it's possible that when they shot this for the movie, they used a like a different photography process. That's not unheard of. I was thinking of scaling that, but I'm not going to do that. All right, so now let's give a little bit of color to things. All right, and oh, actually, yeah, color. So let's select one object at a time. Now for my Rambo text, I'm just going to go with black. And we'll find out why very shortly. For my First Blood Part 2, actually what I'm going to do is I'm also going to make them shadeless, which you can find right down there. For First Blood Part 2, let's go ahead and make new. And I'm going to give that a nice blood color, shadeless as well. All right, and if we try to do a render of this, it's not going to work out, but let's see. All right, close. It looks more like Rambo First Blood Part 2 on Lost. All right, so what I want to do now is just make sure my camera lines up. Control-0. All right, and scale it up. Oh, grab Z. Just make sure everything lines up. And yeah, as I suspected there, the looks like the framing's off by a little bit. So let's change our camera presets, and I'm going to go to the Super 35 and zoom out some more. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me give it a quick render. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and set our layers under our render layers there and disable the sky rendering. So if we render the image now, it should come out with an alpha channel, and that's good. So now that we're out of there, we need to actually start separating some things. And let's see, to make this work, we really only need to separate two things, and that is our word Rambo and our word First Blood Part 2. So I'm going to make sure that Rambo stays on the first layer and First Blood Part 2 goes to the second layer. And to do that, just hit M for material, and let's put that right there. So now in our layer settings there, what I need to do is make sure that it identifies that both layers will be visible to the camera. But when I'm doing my render, under render layer 1, which I think I would like to rename to title, and then I only want it to render layer 1. If I make my second one, I'm going to rename that one subtitle, and it will only render layer 2. So now, if I make the arrangements to render image, it should only render that. All right. So now to do the next part, we have to jump into our compositor. And to do that, just drop down, compositing, and we're hit use nodes. I'm also going to use backdrop as well. So normally when I'm doing some compositing, it's a lot of video stuff, I usually delete the render layers right away. And this time around, I don't need to do that. I'm actually going to go ahead and duplicate it. So Shift D, and I'm going to change this one here from title to subtitle. And I'm noticing what it's doing is it's giving me a gray background. So to make things work out a little bit differently, I'm going to go ahead and go to the render layers there, and under subtitle, make sure that sky is disabled. So now when it gives me a render, it'll make sure that that has a nice alpha channel surrounding it. So a good rule of thumb for compositing there is to always add in a viewer, and I like to do a reroute on here. And what that'll do is that'll siphon off the information. As it's going to the compositor, it'll also go to the viewer. So add output viewer. All right, and now I don't have to constantly disconnect and reconnect my viewer node. Next up, let's go ahead and put the First Blood Part 2 on top. And in order to do that, let's go ahead and add color alpha over. All right, and let's give them a quick render. All right, and that's gonna look good. Perfect. Okay, just had to move my chair there for a second. We're gonna go one step further, and we're gonna start putting the fire in. And what I did in my project was I just grabbed some stock footage off the internet. There's a title there, just as it was, Big Fire, free HD stock footage. And there's nothing too special about this. This is just someone's video of fire, and you'll see they got the logs there. So we can really only use one little tiny bit of the area because obviously the logs are not going to look right. But you know, it's a 1080 file, so there's enough to work with. I might actually just use up there. We'll see. So now that that's in place, I'm going to make sure I click on my footage. And on the right-hand side under my properties, I want to make sure that I match my movie length. And what this will do is it'll stretch out how many frames our project is. 480 frames. So I only need about 10 seconds worth of footage. That's about 250 frames. We got more than enough to work with. That is nice. I'm going to pop that up there. And now what we need to do is just double check some of our settings. So let's go ahead and go 100% resolution. All right. And we want to do that now because if we start changing things later, we're going to have some scaling issues. So render image. There we go. Things still look good. Okay. So our next step is to go ahead and take this Rambo text, and there's a million ways you could do this. I think I'm going to do it the simplest way, and that is invert the colors. So when I invert the colors, it'll turn it from black to white, and that's just because it's set to RGBs. But if I tick that off and then switch the alpha value, ta-da, we can see right through it. And to add to this, let's go ahead and take our alpha over. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it, so now it's hanging there. And let's pop that in. Now, as you see, that didn't work out according to plan, so what we need to do is just reconnect. And that's a little bit more like it. However, we still have some work to do. So The fire is just too, it's in the wrong spot. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and find a nice little happy spot right there, and that's where the fire's really roaring. Let's see, and that's on 150 frames. So let's see here. Let's offset our frames a little bit. Yeah, right about there. I want to use that top corner right there. And to do that, what we have to do is we have to deform our image a little bit. I'm going to zoom out. And let's go ahead and add distort, transform. Now, I like this node here, the transform node, because what it does is it sort of mixes a couple of different nodes together. It mixes a scale node, a rotate node, and a translate node. And makes things a little bit quicker and easier to work with. So that way you don't have to connect a whole bunch of stuff. So let's see where we are. Let's go back to frame 1. All right, and I want to go a little bit to the right here, pan right. And let's see if I can just zoom down until we just see the base of that log. It's going to be right about there. Okay. So now, let's scrub along the timeline. Got some instances where we can't quite see the R for Rambo, but I can probably ramp up some of the colors here. Or maybe just zoom in a little bit more. All right. Let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah, that looks pretty good. With one small exception, and that is if we take a look at our original reference, our flames are actually kind of this bright orange. And if we're going to go for broken, we're going to try to make it look as good as possible. Let's try to make sure that that lines up. One of the things I'm also starting to notice is that my fire image is a little bit blocky. This could be rectified in the future, but I don't know, maybe just shooting a campfire if I can. I'm pretty sure that the people said, oh, let's steal a campfire off the internet to make this. Let's go ahead and adjust our colors. So I'm going to go ahead and add color, let's see, hue saturation value. So I'm fine with the hues, I'm fine with the colors, but I'm going to try to saturate them a little bit more. All right, just pump that up and maybe brighten it up just a little bit. All right. So if I was to compare the two of them together, it's within reason. It's an acceptable parity, and it looks good. So let's go ahead and render the image. All right, and what we have down here is a nice looking Rambo First Blood Part 2, and that will work out nicely. If you want to go one step further, you can throw on a defocus node, and what that'll do is it'll just sort of soften up your edges here a little bit, because what happens is we have very, very sharp edges because we're going for great quality. If you want to emulate that old school effect from the 80s, you can put a little bit of softness in there. The other thing you can do is also throw some old school film grain on top, and that would, again, take it a little bit further. I guess the next question is, we've done that, what else can we do with it? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at something. So this is an introduction to a TV show we do here at the school, And we have all sorts of parody openings. And if you see one of these ones you like, we can go ahead and make one of those. Some of them are a lot simpler than others. All right. But there we go. Nicholson, Morning News, Part 2. I mean, I've been using this one for a while. So, oh, and it looks like I used a different fire there too. So that one looks better. But let's go ahead and make the change. So rather than doing Nicholson Morning News Part 2, because that doesn't apply necessarily to this channel, let's go something that applies to this. Yeah. Blender. All right. And we might have to adjust our titles. Get a dump truck coming through the yard. And we'll adjust the letter spacing. Oh, that's not going to work. All right, I suppose what we could do is just mess with the scale. And then change that to open source. And I'm going to leave the part 2 in because it's Rambo and I think everything should have part 2 on it. Either that or Electric Boogaloo. So then what you want to do is just export to your favorite format. Me personally, just because I like to have the control to fix things later on, I'll export as a PNG file. So usually it'll be in the exact same folder that I do everything else in. There's my renders. And render your animation. And when you're done, you should get a nice little result out of that. So I hope you enjoyed that video there and the training involved. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. And if you didn't enjoy it, tell me why. Don't say it just sucked. That's a troll. If there's a couple more suggestions or little ideas that you have to make this better, I'd look forward to hearing it. Normally what I do is I drop some film grain on top of that, but that's let's save that for another time. Anyway, I'm Adam Kidd, the FX Kid. Have a great day. Bye bye.